In today's video, we have breaking news. A record number of cartel members have been arrested in President Trump's first 9 months. Also, the White House ballroom is continuing to spark meltdown from the media. And finally, Eric Adams has endorsed Andrew Cuomo to be the next mayor of New York City. In all these stories, we'll show you what both sides are saying as usual, but pay attention to what the president just said about these cartel members. Take a look.
The bad ones we're putting in prison, we hate to do that because that means we're stuck with them for 50 years or more. In recent weeks, our Homeland Security Task Force has seized more than 70 tons of deadly narcotics, along with more than 1,000 illegal guns. And that's just recently. This is already the most successful anti-cartel and anti-gang operation in American history, and it's just getting started. We have incredible people. A lot of them are in this room with us today, and it's an honor to have them.
Again, we're talking about promises made and promises kept. This is another major win for the Trump administration, including a win for the American people, as this president continues to prove that all you need is a president who's willing to take action and a cabinet who's willing to support him. So here are the numbers, and I'm going to obviously give you guys additional facts. You can research it yourself if you choose to believe what we're saying here. At any rate, 152,000 pounds of narcotics seized, 3,000 foreign terrorists and cartel members arrested. Even if they're exaggerating and only half of this is true, this craps on what the previous administration has done. Now, listen to what Pam Bondi had to say. Take a look.
91 tons of drugs have been seized as a result of this task force. We tried to put this in perspective for you. This would be filling 4 18-wheelers for all the drugs just in the last month that have been taken off the streets. 58,000 kilos of cocaine. Think about a big backyard swimming pool. That would fill 1.5 swimming pools. Just the powder cocaine that has been removed, saving lives this last month, thanks to all of these people around the table. 2,300 kilos of fentanyl powder and 2.1 million fentanyl pills off the streets. And as the president said, more than 1,000 illegal guns.
Now, what I did is I researched every single AI out there: Gemini, Venice, Perplexity, ChatGPT, and Cloud. And at the end of the day, it came to the same conclusion every time. Under the Biden administration, there was 2 high-profile cartel members that were arrested by law enforcement. Take a look at this. 26 fugitives were handed over by Mexico to federal law enforcement agencies back in August 12th through the 13th. 29 wanted defendants were also caught and handed over February 28th of 2025. And then you hear all of the cartel members that are being arrested via illegal immigration and ICE. Not to mention according to AI, 55 cartel-linked fugitives have been apprehended. So I don't care what numbers you come up with. The bottom line is this administration in only the first 9 months have already arrested, apprehended, detained more cartel members than the previous administration did in 4 years. Now, here's the FBI director.
I think the media should focus on some of these numbers the Attorney General just riled off. Those aren't numbers, those are lives. Lives saved by the millions. Enough, enough fentanyl to kill over 200 million Americans, gone, evaporated, off our streets permanently. Your vision to safeguard American freedoms and our children and our future is the most courageous thing I've ever seen a president of the United States ever do. And your ability to marshal it out in 8 months, these statistics would have taken other administrations decades.
Yep, that is exactly right. It would have taken decades. We already understand that bureaucracy is what prevents the federal government from truly cracking down on crime and going after terrorists and cartel members, which is why we've always had a problem with people like this. But all it took was a change in the executive branch, meaning the Oval Office, President Trump, and his culture and mindset and willingness to say, I don't care how we do it. We need to get it done. We need to get these people off our streets, out of our country. And that's exactly what's happened. And the only tragedy in all of this is that you have a political party not focused on any of that. They're more focused on trying to arrest ICE from doing their job. And they're questioning the president's authority when he goes after these cartel members, especially when he authorized lethal strikes in international waters. Take a listen to this.
We've heard questions, though, about legalities, even from some Republicans who've had them on the show and seen them in other places. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think it's a novel legal question. It does give me some pause, but it's really not that different than, for example, President Obama, who would actually very publicly talk about the strikes that he would do that were lethal strikes against known or suspected terrorists in other parts of the world. You might argue there's a distinction there. Perhaps he was acting under the authorization for the use of military force that followed the 9/11 attacks, whereas in this case, we're talking about a designated terrorist organization. So whether that distinction matters for purposes of legality, we also need to keep in mind the other side of this, which is that the United States has been absolutely ravaged by this epidemic of fentanyl poisoning, largely caused by drug traffickers bringing this poison into our country and destroying countless thousands and thousands of lives, many young people all across the country as well. So, we do need to assure that everything that is being done is fully within the bounds of the president's powers as commander-in-chief, which are quite expansive, but while also, understanding the nature of the threat that he's trying to counter.
It reminds me financially what's wrong with this country. You have to think about the interest rates at this point. You've got to think about how high inflation has become. You think they care about your financial future, your retirement plan? Absolutely not. All you need to do is look at the results. What is the price of gold right now versus the value of the dollar? That's why I encourage you guys to reach out to Lear Capital. It's exactly what I recommended my mother-in-law to do. She was worried about her money. She was worried about the cost of living, and she does live in California, by the way, and what she was going to do moving forward with her retirement. So she wanted to take matters into her own hands, and she wanted to speak to people that could be trusted. That is Lear Capital. You want the education on how to take your hard-earned cash and put it into precious metals investing. Lear Capital is the people to talk to. So the bottom line here for me is that with all this uncertainty, reach out to my friends at Lear Capital so they can show you how gold or silver can help you. And right now, as a special, they're offering $20,000 bonus in gold or silver on a qualified purchase. All you have to do is call them at 1-800-920-8388. That number again is 1-800-920-8388. Or you could go to the link in the description below at leardevori.com. One thing I heard with that analysis is this. The true difference here is that the bomber-in-chief, Barack Obama, actually killed American citizens when he was trigger happy with drones. And you never hear of him being threatened with an impeachment over that. You guys recall? But they want to impeach the president. They want to threaten him. They want to question his authority when he's taking out drug vessels. I just find it to be interesting. He hasn't even killed in these lethal strikes the same number of people that Barack Obama did in the Middle East. Come on. Again, it's all propaganda, folks.
So now they're coming in by land. And even the land is concerned because I told them that's going to be next. The land is going to be next. And we may go to the Senate. We may go to the, Congress and tell them about it. But I can't imagine they'd have any problem with it. I think, in fact, while we're here, I think it's a good idea, Pete. You go to Congress, you tell them about it. What are they going to do? Say, gee, we don't want to stop drugs pouring in. They're killing 300,000 people a year. I think that's the real number, 300,000 people a year. So between that and my discussion with President Xi, I think we have never made progress like we've made. The sea drugs are almost dead.
Speaking of that propaganda, it takes us to this update regarding the White House East Wing that is getting an upgrade regarding the ballroom. And the media is continuing to melt down over it. It's such an emotional reaction. It took the White House press secretary to fire back today during her press briefing in a very brutal way. Take a look at this.
So the White House has explained that the reason you didn't submit construction plans to the NCPC is because that commission, along with others, don't have oversight over demolitions, but only over construction. And so far, you haven't built anything. So can you help us understand, can the president tear down anything he wants without oversight? Could he demolish this building or, say, the Jefferson Memorial?
So it's not the president who came up with that legal opinion himself. That's a legal opinion that's been held by the NCPC for many years. It's written, so we can get you that background and that research if you wish to include it in your reporting, because it is very important. They have ruled consistently, their general counsel has said, when it comes to phase one of this project, the tearing down of the current East Wing structure, a submission is not required legally for that. Only for vertical construction will a submission be required, and that's a legal opinion from them, and we are following that legal opinion. And again, I would just add, can any president do such a thing to the White House grounds? There have been many presidents in the past who have made their mark on this beautiful White House complex. This briefing room, as you all know, was not once a briefing room. It was a swimming pool. There have been presidents who have completely torn down the executive mansion. If you look at what President Truman did, some of the photos of the construction project that took place in those years.
So let's understand their angle now. After the president has already proved they were transparent, they had talked about this months ago, provided pictures, told everybody what was going to happen, and then all of a sudden the media wanted to act like they were brand new yesterday, and they were caught off guard by everything, which we know they weren't caught off guard. They're triggered because the president moves at a different speed than them. He's doing things that a active, smart, intelligent, engaging president would do, and all presidents throughout history have left their mark on the White House. You guys don't need to be told all of this, but at any rate, because that has gone out the window, their next talking point is, well, the president just has the authority to tear down whatever he wants to tear down. That sounds like you're dealing with a high schooler at this point. I mean, where are the intelligent journalists in that room? It's really a shame, but this stuff continues. Take a listen.
I think sitting here today, we're all grateful for those efforts and the modifications that happened at that time. And again, in due time, the East Wing is going to be more beautiful and modern than ever before. And in addition, there will be a big, beautiful ballroom that can hold big parties and state visits for generations to come.
So it sounds like the answer is yes, he can tear down whatever he wants. And then secondly, I mean...
that's not what we're saying. That's a legal opinion that's been held for many years. And
interpreting it.
No, it's something that presidents have done for years and years. In fact, I have some photos here, thank you, Pat, to show you the construction that's taken place on the White House grounds. This is the construction of the West Wing in 1902. Look at this, the construction of the West Terrace in 1902. These images look quite similar to what you and the American people are seeing today, the construction of the East Terrace as well. Look at the construction of the West Wing expansion in 1934. So, look, this is a legal opinion that's been held for many years. Look at, this is 1950. That looks a lot like what you were seeing today.
Can he demolish anything he wants?
What do you think
without
that
oversight?
rubble is? How did that rubble get there?
Right, so I'm asking,
Right.
and then back to the donors.
Go ahead, Reagan.
Many of them are...
Reagan, go ahead.
If you guys don't recall, she's the same woman that got upset when the president called the COVID vaccine, what was it, Kung Flu? Okay. Kung Flu. I mean, this guy is so hilarious, right? And she was like, isn't that racist? Why do you keep blaming China? Only if she knew the truth then, right? Okay, let's go to this next clip. This is Hakeem Jeffries finally admitting that the ballroom is privately funded. It was just 24 hours ago when he said, no, the taxpayers were paying for it. So which one is it exactly?
Any executive authority. And more likely, this is part of what Donald Trump has been doing since day one of his presidency, running the largest pay-to-play scheme in the history of the country, and probably soliciting donations from people who've got business before the United States government. And all of this is going to have to be investigated. It will. All of this will have to be uncovered. It will. And these people are going to be held accountable no matter how long it takes. That's going to be the reality of the situation. And that's our warning to all of these people participating in this scheming to manipulate taxpayer dollars and, of course, to destroy the people's house. The White House belongs to the American people. It doesn't belong to Donald Trump.
Okay, my question to Hakeem Jeffries would be, what is your message to Hillary Clinton? We know what happened there. Isn't it interesting that there's just a blatant hypocrisy from these people? Again, that's why nobody takes them seriously anymore and why their approval ratings are at an all-time low. But what we want to focus on are the merits, the facts of the case. He's not doing anything different than what's been done in history. He's doing everything that's above approach, that is legally sound. And you heard it from the White House press secretary that provided the resource and the legal source that people could look up for themselves. So bottom line so far, I want to make sure we're all on the same page here. Not only did Hakeem Jeffries admit that it is privately funded, but he also admitted that if they get back into power, they will investigate people for being a part of this. So that means he's going to investigate Apple and Amazon and Coinbase and Google and HP and Microsoft and T-Mobile. I mean, is that what they are going to do? This is the list of the names of people who have contributed funds to this ballroom. It just doesn't make any sense. But to put a button on all of this, why don't we hear from the people in D.C.? Take a listen.
He's spending his money and not my taxpayer money. It's okay with me. And as with any old house, things need to be renovated.
So I guess everybody has their own perspective. I kind of look at this as a remodel project. And we've had several administrations in the past. I don't remember. I wasn't around for, I think Hoover. No, Truman. Truman did a total remodel, gutted the White House, tore out the walls because it needed done. This property is, as you know, well over 200 years old. Adding whatever the room's going to be, a ballroom. The only thing I've heard for sure is from several folks that I know that come to Washington have often talked about the need for a bigger meeting space or a hall close to the White House, and it sounds like this is going to do it. So I don't see it as any more than making something better than it was before.
I really don't see any major issue with it. The White House has been changed several times in the past, and it's just something that I feel like Trump felt was needed. So.
Again, the fact that this is a story just tells you the childish games that we're continuing to experience from really mainstream media, because they have just this huge emotional reaction to it. These are supposed to be journalists, by the way, so you think they know their history. It's expected from Democrats, but from so-called journalists, it's a complete joke. All right, speaking of what is a complete joke, go to this next story. Eric Adams has now officially endorsed Andrew Cuomo to be the next mayor of New York City. I'm going to tell you right now up front, it's not going to work for Andrew at all. Take a listen.
A little breaking news. You got New York City Mayor Eric Adams speaking now alongside independent mayoral candidate Andrew Cuomo. Watch.
Immigrant families are under attack in the city. Working class people are under attack. African Americans and Hispanic families are under attack. Italian and Irish families are under attack. When you give the finger to a statue that's represented to the Italian community, you're saying you don't give a damn. When you tell Jewish residents that you need globalized intifada, you're saying you don't care. When you go after communities and state that you're going to raise their taxes because of their ethnicity, that's what black and brown communities are going through right now. Taxes are higher in their community because of what was done. We're not going backwards, folks. And so this was a grueling time. And yes, am I angry that I'm not the one taking down Zoran, the socialist and the communist? You're darn right I am. But you know what? The city means more to me than anything. And it is time for us as a family to come together. New York can't be Europe, folks. I don't know what is wrong with people. You see what's playing out in other countries because of Islamic extremism.
Now, let's actually go over the brutal truth. The only reason why Zoran Mamdani has a legitimate chance to be the next mayor of New York City is because of people like Eric Adams. Why? Because mayor after mayor, they have failed the people of New York City, and they are so desperate that they've turned to someone like Mamdani. Now, we've seen this play out before with President Trump. The difference is President Trump's policies are rooted in common sense, and Mamdani's policies are rooted in socialism. So obviously, look forward to New York City probably going bankrupt once he becomes the next mayor, which is at this point inevitable. And his opponents, they're no good either. I mean, the Republican candidate, he does not support National Guard working with local law enforcement. And Andrew Cuomo is the guy who's still trying to overcome the 13 sexual assault claims that he still has no legitimate answer for. So that's why I say New York City is really finished here.
I'm fighting for the family of New York. That's why I'm here today to endorse Andrew Cuomo to be part of this fight. And I'm going to give it my all these next few days to make sure that black and brown communities specifically who have believed there's nothing at stake in this election for them. It is. When you empty out 3,000 people in Rikers Island who preyed on these communities, that's at stake. When you state that you don't believe small property owners have the right to charge a moderate rent, that's at stake. When you lie and state that you can freeze rent, you can't freeze rent in NYCHA, you can't freeze rent in Mitchell Ahmed, you can't freeze rent in market rate housing, you can't freeze rent, but you are lying and telling people you could do so. We're fighting against a snake.
Well, there you have the current mayor of New York City now endorsing Andrew Cuomo to become the next mayor of New York City.
Now, when I watched the debate, which was last night, it was just really anti-Trump all over again, as I told you guys previously. And there was a couple of questions where Mondani really didn't have an answer for. He gave a lot of non-answers and smiled at the camera. Andrew Cuomo continued to get hit with his sexual assault claims he had no answer for, except that the cases were dropped. That's not good enough. And the Republican candidate, he was, in my opinion, he tried too hard to make the case. At any rate, why don't we look at some of these numbers, which I find to be interesting in the polling. If you are American born and you're in New York City, they are leaning more towards Andrew Cuomo over Mondani. But if you're foreign born and you're in New York City, 62 to 24 to Mondani. I think that's very troubling there. And one more update for you. Here is the actual current polling that clearly shows that Mondani is ahead. That's why I say it's inevitable. All right, let's go to this update.
But I just look back and think, you know, we're not even 25 years removed from September 11th, and it was universal in that city and around the country, you know, never again. We were never gonna go down this road. And then you got a guy who is sympathetic with communism, Islamism, and he's going to get elected mayor in this city. I think, quite frankly, it's a disgrace. But I also think that it shows you New York City hasn't hit rock bottom. I mean, we remember New York City under Giuliani, and even after that, and then how it's gone south with de Blasio. This guy makes de Blasio look like Ronald Reagan. I mean, like, he is way far left of that. And I think when you're somebody that wants to disband the NYPD, those rank and file officers, those are blue collar, hardworking people. They are not going to want to work for a guy like this. I think you're going to see a lot of turmoil, and I think that it'll show that the city will further go down.
Yep, no doubt about that. And again, for my people who watch me that are from New York or you live in New York City, let us know how you feel about all this in the comments section below. How does this make you feel that Zohran Mondani is going to be the next mayor? I mean, I know the voting hasn't started, but I mean, what more evidence do you need at this point? Let us know how you guys feel. Now, how does Hakeem Jeffries feel? Because they've been asking this guy every single day the same question. When are you going to endorse Mondani? Well, here is the latest update that came earlier. Take a look.
We're now learning that the New York City Mayor Eric Adams will endorse former Governor Andrew Cuomo in the mayoral race. You recently said you'll have, quote, more to say about the mayor's race and about our, in your words, our Democratic nominee prior to early voting beginning. Early voting starts in just 2 days. Will you finally make an endorsement, Leader Jeffries?
Well, as you indicated, Wolf, early voting starts in a few days. And, you know, I look forward to saying much more about the mayor's race, as I've promised, in advance of that moment. I haven't gotten a chance to actually review the debate clips from last evening, but I will say that I think it was an important step that our Democratic nominee took when he indicated that he will retain the current police commissioner, Jessica Tisch. She's doing a tremendous job. She's well respected in the communities that I'm privileged to represent. And, you know, we'll have more to say about the mayor's race sometime soon.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. The police commissioner, she's a failure too. Why? Because we've seen how many people were burned on the subway. We've seen how many New Yorkers are scared of the subway. We've seen how many New Yorkers complained about the illegal immigration, the fact that illegals were put up in luxury hotels. And crime was allowed to go rampant, especially with TDA gang members. So, the fact that you hear this sigh from them like, oh, I'm glad they all agreed to keep her on, just shows you how far gone they are. Okay, why don't we hear from you guys in the comments section below to these stories today. Started with the president and that major announcement about cartel members and terrorists that have been arrested just 9 months in. Clearly more arrests and apprehensions in just 9 months versus 4 years of the Biden administration. Did you guys notice that? Secondly, did you watch that New York City mayoral debate last night? Did you have the same takeaway as I did? And finally, what do you think of the White House ballroom continuing to get this emotional meltdown from the media? Give me all your thoughts and everything you got in the comment section below. Now, this takes us to our next video, which was our earlier live stream. Letitia James has announced a portal that would dox ICE agents and also J.B. Pritzker. They are now trying to make this happen at the local level to surveil and track ICE agents' movements. So if you guys missed out on that update and more, all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.